All right, so listen, I get it, man. The real estate market has shifted. Your showings on your listings have totally dropped off the planet. Sellers want to continue to overprice their homes. They just don't want to accept that this market has shifted. It's not the same as it was just 30, 60, 90 days ago. And you're worried about your future in your career in real estate. So I have good news, all right? So there are 3 things specifically that top agents do during a real estate market shift like we're in right this second that allows them to actually explode their business, grow it exponentially in a market that some are very, very concerned about. And I'm literally going to teach you all 3 in this video so that this just isn't for top agents, whether you're a new agent, you've been in this business for a couple of years, but you're not where you want to be. I hope that after you watch this video, you're really excited about the opportunity that's ahead of you and the doubt and the fear can go away. So let's jump into it. So reason number 1 is more opportunity. Here's what I mean specifically. You're looking at the screen right now, and I captured my screen, and I went back and looked at the expired listings from 2015 as an example, all right? So you could go back to 2012, 13, 14, 15 in any market that's either a buyer's market or a neutral market, which is what I think we're about to get into, by the way. And what you're going to see is in this particular market, I just went into one of my key cities. This is one city, okay? You could see there's 349 expired listings over the course of this 1 year time frame, or about 30 expired listings per day. Whereas comparison to right now, if you just look back over the last 12 months, there's about 116. All right, this is in one city. So that's like 8, 9 a day. All right, so there's a lot more expired opportunities. Well, in addition to just expired listing data, because again, imagine a world you're going after more than just one city. You're going after, let's just say, 5 cities or a whole county. And really what I recommend there is you go after a 1 mile or 1 hour radius rather. So you might be going after 15 cities. So the reality is we'll probably get back to the place where there's 15, 20, 25, 30 expired listings per day that you wake up to every day in Vulcan 7. So a lot more opportunities from an expired listing standpoint. All right, so here's the thing about expired listings though. So here's what we know, right? So most of the time, and if you're a new agent, this is what you're going to learn. The reason why you should be excited for expireds is because it's really the inability that the agent had in order to, they couldn't tell the seller the truth is the reason why the home expired. They couldn't confront the seller in a way that got the seller to make the best decisions when it comes to price specifically, or condition, or something that needed to be addressed. They were not strong enough to get the seller to do what the seller needed to do to get this property sold, which resulted in the property expiring, okay? And so when we have a lot more of those, that's a great opportunity for a great agent like yourself to go in there, save the day, because really the expired listing is the only source of business that we know for certain that there's motivation to sell, because they've listed it with a real estate agent, a full service agent in the MLS, and they're open to showing the property to other agents. So this is our best case scenario. There's going to be a lot more of those. Next, more for sale by owners. Okay, so more for sale by owners, number 1, and number 2, more for sale by owners that are having that aren't able to sell on their own like they are right now, okay? So the reality is you probably have been getting for the last 5 years, well, probably 4 years, like 1 or 2 FSBOs a day. And those are selling on their own, right? So a lot of the agents that I coach before this seller's market, I mean, I had myself included. I mean, we had multiple agents earning multiple 6-figure incomes off of just for sale by owners. like hundreds and hundreds of them. When we were getting 20, 30 FSBOs a day and 90% were unable to successfully sell on their own, which then perception became the value of hiring an agent. The perception was so much higher than it is right now when any house with anybody in any strategy is selling for more than the asking price. Well, of course, the homeowners start to second guess why paying a realtor 6% makes any sense. Well, that's all about the change, my friend. When we start getting 15, 20, 30 FSBOs a day, most of them can't sell. Don't worry. Your value proposition is going to 10x with home sellers here in the next few months. All right. Now, less agents to compete with. And I don't mean necessarily the number of agents, although certainly I've made a video about this before. Based on just the NAR memberships and what happens in a market shift, we do expect the number of licensees to go down. That's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about here, when I'm talking about less agents to compete with, is I'm talking about specifically with these two lead sources. So as the best two lead sources to get now listings increases dramatically, maybe 3, 4, 5 times, maybe even more in some markets, you have less new agents becoming licensed, which a lot of them, they go on YouTube, they try to figure out, okay, what do I do to become successful? We know that all the top agents go after for sale by owners and expireds. They dominate those two lead sources. So they see a lot of videos on YouTube saying, okay, that's what I need to do. So what you probably have seen, which is why it's been so challenging for new agents getting in the market, is A, we don't have that many FSBOs. We don't have that many expireds. And then B, you have all these new agents that have been getting in the market going after all these sources of business. So the competition was insane. And then on top of that, I'll throw in a C, a lot of these new agents were just pulling their pants down and listing the house at 1%. So there's no opportunity. And the opportunities that you did have, most of them were selling on their own. And then you have all these agents calling them, and then all these agents that are new to the business, so they're willing to drop their commission to next to nothing just to get the listing. That made it very difficult. And so it's going to be the exact inverse of that. You'll have a lot less people going through their class, getting their license in a downward market like we're about to get into. So a lot less agents you're going to have to compete with the best two sources of business, which are about the 10x. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. So let's go on to number 2. Second thing that you can take away from this video, better strategy to get listings sold. Okay. Here's what I mean. So top agents know this. And now after watching this video, you can't unwatch it. Now you're going to know. So managing sellers' expectations. All right. So right now, what's happening is most of the time, agents get a listing and the seller says, this is what I want to list it at. The seller says, okay. They put it on the market and an hour later, they got 10 offers over what the seller wanted. It's all hunky-dory. Well, if you already know this right now. If you have a listing right now and the showings have dropped off the face of the earth, you're saying to yourself, holy shit, I've never dealt with this before. Like I've never dealt with me listing a house and getting no showings and the house not selling and the seller mad at me. Well, if you're going to really become a great agent here, like you have to become a real expert. Okay. When I mean expert, what I mean specifically, and I just got done doing this with 2 coaching clients right before I started making this video. We jumped into their MLS, into their stats to review what's been going on in the last 2 weeks, specifically with days on market and number of showings per listing. And so we're looking at these stats to bring in this conversation to have with sellers, because you can't, here's the thing, sellers are refusing to accept the fact that the market shifted and they still think their houses are worth way more than they are. And they don't know the market like we know the market, right? So you have to be able to use more than just your words. Like telling, I always say it, telling's not selling. You got to be able to show them data so that so they can believe that what you're saying is true. So you have to become a real expert. We talked about days on market. So you're going to have to really focus the seller on, hey, listen, as the days on market increases, the correlation to what you get in return as an offer will go down. So as days on markets creeps up because of lack of demand and more inventory coming in the market now than ever before in the last 5 years, we have to stay ahead of the game. And how do we do that? So I am having every agent that I'm coaching right now go in with a 5% variance in their list price recommendation. So whatever list price the CMA says, we're going to go in there with a 5% variance on the lower side of things, and that be where we start. So if the seller talks you up in price, you can end up at the right price. We talked about the average number of showings. So inside showing time, okay, again, another example. I'm having every coaching client right now review this on a weekly basis because it's changing that fast. So you can go into showing time, specifically InfoSparks, and you can review the number of showings per listing in your MLS and in your city so that we can take that to the next listing appointment. And then CTR, or click-through ratio. So how many people, when you list a property on Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, and the MLS, click through to schedule a showing? So how are we positioning the property? Okay, what does that strategy look like? You have to have one so that you can have a high CTR, all right? Next is mortgage application report. This has everything to do with being an expert. You have to bring the mortgage application report based on you can get it on a weekly basis from the MBA's website or a monthly basis. And we've got to bring that information to the seller so that we can have better conversations around expectations of what should happen when we list the property. Let's talk about property marketing. So what we have to do is we have to have a property marketing strategy that allows us to get these properties sold in a shifting market. So one of those things that a lot of people do that we teach is the grand opening event. Okay, so what do you do when that market hits the market to communicate it in the local community? So I'll talk more about that in just a second. Next thing is the buyer target marketing. So what are you doing with absolute specificity to go out there and produce a buyer for your listing? Because this is what the sellers assume you're doing. And most agents get really nervous because when the seller says, okay, Susie Q, let me just ask you a question. They get their little notebook out, and they say, well, we're interviewing multiple agents. So what are you going to do specifically to sell and market my house? You, not other agents, you. The agent starts to get real nervous. So you have to have a strategy in order to do that so that you can show the seller and produce your own buyer in this market. Pricing strategy. Let's talk about this. So we have to have a strategy based on current market versus historical data, which is what appraisers do, which is why appraisers oftentimes struggle to come up with the right value. So you've got to really price property off the current market values, okay? What I highly recommend that you do is look at the competition, look at their actives and the pendings, and you place a heavy emphasis on your pricing recommendation or your pricing strategy off actives and pendings, which tells you what's going on now. Okay? We have to put less emphasis on what happened in the past because the past is the past and the market has absolutely shifted. So we have to look at current market. And then price bracketing. Okay, this is something I talk about all the time with the agents that I coach, but price bracketing, you have to take this into your strategic delivery when you're talking about pricing to a seller and show them the price bracketing and where best suited their property should be positioned in the market. And then the last thing you should do when it comes to the pricing strategy is an active buyer analysis. So two things here. Number one, you need to bring a list with you with all of the active buyers that are currently pre-approved to purchase a home at that price point in that neighborhood. Okay, you can get that from your MLS. And then the other thing is we can get the actual second half of the analysis by looking at all the properties in that price bracket that have sold in the last 3 years, break it down by percentage so that we can present that to the seller so we know, we don't have to guess. We know exactly where that property should be positioned. Okay, so let's talk about number 3, better strategy to leverage listings to get more listings. So this is what top agents are doing to explode their business, to grow their business during a market shift. So number 1, I call it the new listing launch system. Okay, so anytime you take a new listing, these would be some of the things that we do. So we talked a little bit before about the private event. Let me talk to you about this a little bit more. So the private event is for neighbors only. So when we list the property on a Friday night, we want to invite the neighbors only. This is not a public event. This is just for the neighbors. And so you're going to call all of them personally, knock their door, hand deliver them an invitation to your Friday private event. You're going to have wine. You're going to have a couple appetizers. You can have some beers or whatever, some cocktails. And you want to invite the neighbors for a couple of reasons, but specifically to get their feedback on the price, the condition, and give them an opportunity to potentially see this house for the first time and potentially see who also is thinking about selling their home. Because here's what we know. With the lack of inventory that we are sitting on right now, when this house goes open to the public, multiple buyers will come into the property and there's only going to be one person who buys it. So all those other people that come into that property are potential buyers for the neighbors. We're going to leverage that information in a second. So we're going to communicate that at the event. So we communicate up front to get them to the event. When they're at the event, we tell them exactly what I just told you. That the fact is we're going to have multiple people interested in the property. When they do, our goal is to let you know other buyers that want to buy a home in the neighborhood so that if you or someone else is thinking about selling, we already have a contract in place for you. Next is the neighborhood buyer activity call. So when we list the house on the market and we get an offer, we go under contract, we call the neighbors that we met at the event and we communicate all of the other buyer potentials. It's exactly what I just said. This is where you're picking up additional listing opportunities. Lastly, on this strategy, the home value mailer. So after the property has sold and closed, we're going to send a mailer following that sale in the neighborhood to communicate its final sales price and the effect it had on property values with a call to action to get their home price analysis done. In other words, the call to action is going to be, if you are thinking about selling, I'll show you exactly what buyers are willing to pay based on this sale. And the neighbors absolutely love it. Okay. So let's talk about potentially working together. If some of the stuff we talked about in today's training video hit home with you, it resonated with you, let's talk about potentially working together in a coaching relationship so I can help you implement some of this stuff. So if you end up, you and I have a conversation, I'm going to put a link underneath this video in the description. I'll also put one in the comments. Click the link. We can schedule some time to talk, and me and my team will walk you through how the program works. We just launched our new level 3 accountability system. So high level, here's what that means. 1, you're going to get lifetime access to the Listing Agent Academy online training portal. So this is where you're going to get all the marketing material. It's where I'm going to show you exactly what to do step by step. There's hours and hours and hours of training content with all the downloads, with all the marketing material that you need to execute on becoming a great listing agent. That's number 1. Number 2, You and I will be on a Zoom coaching session every single week. They're on Mondays. They're usually about 90 minutes long. You'll get a copy of all the recordings so you can go back and listen to our conversations week over week over week. And you'll do that with me over the course of 6 months, okay? Those are every single Monday. You're also going to be held accountable daily to the business plan that you and I create together, custom business plan, and our accountability coach will hold you accountable to those daily prospecting activities that you and I both agree on that will align you to hit your annual income goal. In addition to that, we have daily office hours. So 1 hour every single day, Monday through Friday. We're going to hold your hand on executing on every strategy, every tactic that we teach you inside the program. Every day for 1 hour, we're going to show you exactly how to do it to make sure that you're not missing a beat. All right. So listen, if you're ready to have a conversation and now's the right time to really take your business to the next level, you're serious about your goals, schedule a call. I would invite you to have a conversation with us, find out more about working with us. We've got a couple different pricing options. You can pay monthly, you can pay it all up front. Whatever you want to do, whatever fits your budget, we'll work with you on that. Click the link. We can have a conversation to see if working together at this point makes sense or not. If now's not the right time, obviously, I hope you got value from today's training. Please subscribe to the channel. You can always change your mind later, and we'll see you guys in another video very soon. Thank you guys so much for watching.